Okay, so today we are continuing on with our third chapter, which is about schedule model creation. We had already talked about the basic structure of that. So this schedule model describes the work to be done, that is what, and the resources required, that is who and what, and the optimum activity sequence, including activity start, finish, and relationship, that is when something has to be done, and ultimately the way to do the work, that is how we are going to do it. Actually, this describes the whole process of scheduling, whole planning thing. Is defined by other documents in the overall project plan. And like, you create the network diagram and activity list and all those things. That is all inclusive in this schedule model. The first time you create the schedule model, you go through all this process, and at the end of it, you have a schedule model created for the first time. And then throughout the project, you keep revising it and refining it. So it goes through many instances. But the instance which is considered final for planning is called the baseline. You remember that. After it has been baselined, no more instances can be created. They can only be created in case of a change request, which will be approved by the highest authority. And once that is approved, that the baseline is unfrozen, and then you again start creating the various further instances of the schedule model. There may be a couple of instances when it stabilizes, you again request for a rebaseline, and that's how this thing goes on and on. But any one version of the schedule, including all these details, I mean, in shape of a Gantt chart and everything, is called a schedule model. Establishing a realistic and achievable schedule model is one of the critical initial actions. You see, the very first model you create may not be realistic. Therefore, you are getting it through more instances to stabilize, and the most realistic version is then presented for the approval, after which it becomes the baseline. Anyways, when I say schedule model, as I said, the very first shape is a model. Every instance is a model. Even baseline is a model, which can be rebaselined as well. Anyway, some important points to consider here about the creation of schedule model. There are two things. Number one, determining that the project requirements are understood and satisfied. Before you can start creating the model, you must be really very clear about the project requirements as if you can translate them into a model. Verify resource availability and assignment. It is not just calculation of time, but you should ensure that all the resources required in the model are available and they have been assigned. Only then you can put them down into the model. Determine that the project requirements are understood and satisfied. That is the first point which I just mentioned. If you explain that, the project team reviews and understands the project scope document. You remember, it all started with the scope. Until and unless we did not have the scope baseline, we could not have started this job. So we required the work breakdown structure to be further broken down into activities. So therefore, that was our base document. The project scope documents provide us the background information and understanding needed to develop the scheduled model. Goal is to ensure that all aspects of project execution have been adequately defined and included in the scheduled model. This way will ensure that everything in the scope has been covered in the scheduled model. Activities in the schedule model represent the work that produces the deliverable or work packages identified as per the work breakdown structure, because work breakdown structure is tailored around the scope. We cannot go beyond the scope or even remain behind the scope. So whatever is there in work breakdown structure, everything must be broken down into work packages, and only enough work packages to complete the work, nothing more, nothing less. Therefore, all work packages in the WBS should be directly traceable to a schedule activity or group of activities. Meaning, if you look downwards from a work package, you would find it leading you to certain activities at the bottom level. And you must satisfy yourself that all those activities in that work packages are really necessary to do that job. As I said, no extra work or no work left behind. Exactly, you have to meet the requirement of the work package and the work breakdown structure. Often, the schedule activities can be organized to reflect the hierarchy of the work breakdown structure. Like, we created the work breakdown structure. You can further add activities in the same work breakdown structure, but that is generally not very necessary, because basically the work breakdown structure is broken down to the work package level. But for your convenience, if you want, you can put those activities under those work packages just in the form the WBS was formed. That may be for better understanding. Conversely, each activity should roll up into only one work breakdown element, meaning an activity cannot contribute to one more than one work packages. If this activity is belonging to our work package, it cannot relate to any other work package, right? Second point is verify resource availability and assignments. The project team benefits greatly from a resource loaded schedule. The first model you create may not be resource loaded. It could be just based on time. But then you remember we did resource leveling and all that thing. That is called we are trying to load the available resources onto the schedule, by which the schedule is considerably amended. That is called resource loaded schedule, meaning the schedule model created after loading the resources is called resource loaded schedule. This includes the workforce, materials, equipment, and infrastructure needed to accomplish project activities and can be planned in advance of need, and anticipated problems can be mitigated. So this is actually the main force behind the schedule, because uh, due to non-availability of resources, this schedule is not workable. So loading these resources onto the schedule will make it resource loaded schedule. After you have done that, a basic schedule model produced for a project assumes that sufficient workforce and equipment are available to accomplish the activity as scheduled. So this is a basic assumption that once a final shape of a schedule model, first schedule model is created, it would have catered for all the workforce, equipment, and everything, and that's why it could be a workable solution. But at the same time, I said there are a lot many tweakings going to happen, which will give birth to many instances. Instances are variabilities which you learn over the time, and you keep improving your schedule until you are satisfied with your schedule where you get it baseline. This is not always the case, because in a large and complex project, it may not be obvious that a resource deficiency exists. Now, as the project size becomes larger and larger, these things you cannot be sure about the availability of resources, because that may be intimated to you maybe sometime in the future. So in that case, you will do your best to predict how many resources can be available, and based on that, you can develop your schedule model. But later, naturally, when the new facts about the resources are available, it all has to be amended. New instances will be created. Maybe new baseline has to be created accordingly. So, okay. Uh, as far as PMBOK is concerned, you can consult it for how you deal with resources, as we have already studied it. Just as activity codes can be used to classify and organize activities. Remember, we said that the numbering system we were using to identify the work packages and the activities, that numbering system is really very important because that can be used to refer to that specific activity, especially the accounting people who are allocating funds for you and all. They would be not interested in the names of the activities, rather their code numbers. So those activity codes must be allocated, which could facilitate your numbering system and your organization of all these things. They can even allocate a resource code in addition to that, meaning, for example, there is a skillful worker carpenter, so they may also give him a code C for carpenter, and this is number 0001, and then another carpenter is C0002 or something like that. So just the activity code can be used to classify and organize the activities. Resource codes can be assigned to the resources to classify the resources according to the organization. Similarly, according to the organization, skill levels are types, reporting structures, all are affected by these coding systems. And by the way, you could create some relationship between the activity codes and the resource codes. In addition, resource IDs may be structured into a meaningful scheme similar in nature to the activity ID. As you created an activity ID, the hierarchy of the activity ID, which was depicted by the number you allocated to it, similarly, the hierarchy of the resources should also be visible like that. For example, if this carpenter is class 1 carpenter, so it should depict maybe C1001. If it is a class 2 carpenter, C2001 or something like that. So they all should be unique numbers. This could facilitate your working of the schedule model much easier, make it easier. Okay, while you are developing the baseline, these are the steps you go through. We already studied about them, but now we are going to talk about them one by one. As you remember, the first activity according to PMBOK is to define the activities, right?
Yes.
But here it has separated the definition or identification of activities from the milestone, because milestones are usually considered to be known before the activities are. Like when we create a roadmap, we don't know what activities are going to be there, but we know what are the major milestones. We identify them first. So it says, first you define the milestones of your project. What are the major instances of celebration in the project? Maybe they could be milestones, could be phases. At the end of every phase, there is a milestone or things like that. And then you start designing your project activities within those milestones. You see, milestone is not an activity. Milestone is just a point in time at which certain achievement or certain something has occurred. For example, uh, if a phase has finished, that is an achievement. So the proof of finishing the phase could be a milestone. you could put a milestone there. As I mentioned earlier, uh, project management software does not really is very intuitive for that purpose. They treat milestones and activities as the same thing, meaning they are represented in the same manner, but the only difference is milestones are shown with zero duration, right? And activities definitely do have certain duration. Now, before I can get into it, I must also uh, specify one more thing. There is another thing which is called event. Naturally, milestones are major points, or I would say major events in the life of a project, but there are some smaller events also. These smaller events are the start or finish of every activity is an event. Means you say this is a starting point of activity A, so this is an event. The moment the activity A should start is an event. The moment the activity A should finish is an event. So that means every activity is at least associated with two events. All milestones are events, but these are not all the events. Some important events in the whole thing are determined to be the milestones. So definitely you can start with identifying the major milestones. Later on, you learn about a lot many events, and out of those events, maybe you consider some more events to be classified as milestones. You understand my point?
Yes, sir.
So once again, I would say every event is not a milestone,
Yes.
but every milestone is definitely an event.
Yeah.
And second important thing about this is these events and milestones do not have absolutely any duration, no duration at all. They are always zero duration because they are instances, they are moments in time. This is a moment in time when this activity finishes or starts, when this phase finishes or starts. Now, once you have identified the milestones and now you have also designed the activities, I mean, designing the activity means, again, identifying all the activities. Once you know all the activities, then they have to be sequenced as we studied earlier in shape of a network diagram. But remember, creating a sequence of activities will only result in a network diagram without any durations, right?
Yes, sir.
A network diagram does not have a critical path calculated right there. We just have a sequence of activities, the relationships, the sequence, what comes after it, the predecessor, the successor. We don't actually know the durations at that time in time because the person who is doing the sequencing is not doing the duration estimate or the resource estimate. That might be another team working on those things. Once all of these three get together, we have determined the resources for every activity and we have determined the duration for every activity. So after sequencing has been done, we start loading those durations and resources onto the network diagram, and that is when it is possible to calculate the critical path. You understand my point?
Yes, sir.
Once you calculate the critical path, then um, you analyze it, and during analysis, you may have to tweak the durations or the resources according to your need. Once this schedule is in a form that is acceptable and doable, then you present it to your bosses for baselining it. And when it is baseline, this schedule, this specific schedule model which is baseline, is called schedule baseline. In the process, what you have seen is uh, when you were analyzing the schedule output, a first model was created at that point in time. Remember,
Mhm.
the first shape of a Gantt chart could be created during this process, analysis of schedule output, when you're putting all of these three things together, right? That you
Mhm.
could say the first instance. Then, when you loaded, tweak the durations and resources more and more, and it started settling down, it may have gone through instance one, instance two, maybe 10, 20. After 10 or 20 instances, it may settle down, and then you feel that it is perfect and there are no more changes required. That
Mhm.
is where you seek the approval for the schedule.
Mhm.
And when you are given the permission, that means your schedule model has been baseline. From
Mhm.
this moment onwards, you have no authority to make any changes to the schedule without the
Mhm.
permission of the authority who baselined your schedule.
Mhm.
The only way, as I said before, is through a change request. If you feel there is a change required, you
Mhm.
can move a change request, or for that matter, anyone could have moved the change request. Your customer could have moved the change request. Your stakeholders could have moved a change request. Anyone
Mhm.
can move a change request. Then your team will analyze that change request and
Mhm.
suggest it to the higher authority.
Mhm.
They will review your proposal, and if it is viable, they will approve it. When this is approved again, this time, it is
Mhm.
called rebaselining. Your schedule model will be once again rebaselined, and this can
Mhm.
occur many times during the life of the project.
Mhm.
A project can go through many cycles of rebaselining. So just imagine if, for example, you need to have, say, 10 to 20 instances after you can baseline something, and then uh, in case of a change request, it is
Mhm.
unfrozen again. It when it starts calculation and all that, and you again go through another 10 or 20, you know, um, uh, instances to again
Mhm.
stabilize. That way, you see how many instances are going to be there throughout the life of the project. There may be hundreds of, maybe if it is a complex project, maybe thousands of instances you might have gone through. And the number of baselines could be at least one, or maybe 1 to 10 or something like that
Mhm.
throughout the project, depending on the length of the project. These may be the number of rebaselines. Anyways, these are the steps to develop the baseline. So when we say defining the milestone, now this script is interesting because you may learn a lot many things here which I have not
Mhm.
spoken.
Mhm.
Once there is an understanding of the overall structure of the project data discussed previously, being begin to lay out the project milestones. Remember, I said that milestones will have zero duration,
Correct.
no resource assigned at that point in time,
Mhm.
will be used as benchmarks to measure the progress, and may also reflect the start and finish point for various project events. Now, one more thing I must inform you, uh,
Mhm.
that there are so many events in a project, right?
Mhm.
So many events, maybe there are 100 events. Out of the 100 events, exactly which events should be called as a milestone?
Uh, an event that maybe uh, coincide with or let's say the completion of an important phase
Right.
of
Okay, that means considering the whole project, because
yeah,
I'm not focused on the event, I'm focused on
yeah,
the whole project.
yeah,
The
yeah.
biggest milestone of a project is beginning of the project.
Yes.
And the biggest milestone at the end is finishing of the project.
Yeah.
So you see, what is the characteristic of beginning of the project? That a lot many activities can simultaneously start at that point in time. And at the ending of the project also, all the activities will converge to that single point. So the characteristic of a milestone is either there are a number of activities entering, culminating at that point,
Mm-hmm.
or a lot many activities are germinating from that point. Such points with many arrows coming in or coming out may be considered to be the milestones.
Mm-hmm.
And in your network diagram, you can clearly see there would be many activities which will have only one arrow coming in and one arrow coming out. They are
Mm-hmm.
not good candidates for a milestone.
Mm-hmm.
A good candidate would be at least two arrows coming in, two or more,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
or at least two or more arrows going out of that activity. That is a reason I may consider that as a milestone,
Mm-hmm.
considering its importance to the whole project.
Mm-hmm.
So, milestone is not arbitrarily drawn, they are from the point of view of the whole project. Is it a big milestone for the project? Yes, but
Mm-hmm.
generally, I have indicated where more than one arrows are converging in or shooting out of an activity, that could be a candidate for a benchmark. Remember this thing, this is a very important thing which I have just told you.
Okay.
Generally, a milestone will represent the start or completion of a portion or deliverable of the project and may also be associated with external constraints. Now, this is something new.
Mm-hmm.
It says these were the internal constraints that this activity must finish as if I can start. That is the internal constraint. What if there is an external constraint? Maybe the customer wanted that specific activity must finish on a specific date.
Mm-hmm.
Now this is nothing internal. This is this is something which has been imposed from
Mm-hmm.
external stakeholders. So
Mm-hmm.
that would be considered. That can also be adjusted into our schedule. We can align it like that.
Mm-hmm.
Although it is not very common, but definitely if you are doing practical project, you would be seeing that this does happen. Not the end of the project only, but in
Mm-hmm.
the middle of the project, at various points, your your customer might have indicated that I want this delivery by this date.
Mm-hmm.
That means that delivery is an external constraint that no matter what, but we should plan in such a way that we would be able to deliver this on that external constraint date. For example, it's such as the delivery of a specific required permission or equipment. Each project should have a start milestone,
Mm-hmm.
as I said, and a finish milestone, meaning start of the project is a milestone and end of the project is a milestone. That is a definite. In addition to that, there could be a number of other milestones. Project will contain a list of milestones initially developed as a schedule model is created. But you see, even the list of milestones can also be increased or decreased. But definitely, if it is baseline, you need permission, change request. These might have originated from the customer, team members, or other stakeholders. They could be the reason for these constraints. As the schedule model is developed, additional milestones are added as needed. So this is an iterative process. This is a possibility, although I said that the roadmap of the project would indicate certain major milestones to us, but at that time activities were not identified. But as we identify the activities, the milestones will be refined and new milestone will be added. So read the note. It says activities may be defined before milestones.
Mhm.
Some activities may be defined like that.
Mhm.
Then designing the project activities, meaning identifying the activities and putting them together. Naturally, a lot many things are to be done. Begin to create a list of activities, and this must be a very comprehensive list of activities. But still, you understand it is not humanly possible to capture everything. Sometimes we leave out certain activities, and later
Mhm.
on, when we compare it with our work packages and WBS, we find
Mhm.
out that these activities which I have broken down out of a work package are not completely representing that work package, and maybe another activity has to be added. So it is possible that the initial list of activities you come up with is not sufficient and it might have to be amended. But basically, we will create a list of candidate activities to start with.
Mhm.
May it not be very complete, but we have to have a list of activities
Mhm.
that will need to be performed to complete the project. To the best of
Mhm.
our knowledge, if we think that these are the activities required to complete the project, they encompass the whole project, then it is okay. We can start with that. But in future, if we realize that some another activity might be added to the list to complete the list, as if we can address all aspects and missing aspects, then
Mhm.
that can be added. But primarily it is based on the work breakdown structure,
Mhm.
and then and elaborated on by the team that will be responsible for the execution of the work. That is also a very important point. Normally, I have seen that this exercise, if at all is being conducted, is conducted only by the project manager without any participation of the team, which is, I suppose, it is a very criminal activity. The people who have to do the job, they must be involved, and rather they must be responsible for for identifying the activities because they know the best. No matter how experienced as a project manager you are, but you must let your team members participate in this exercise. Rather, they should take on the responsibility of all the activities they have outlined, right? So
Mhm.
the characteristics of a well-designed activity include, now these are again very interesting points and they are
Mhm.
noteworthy. The activity is a measurable, discrete element or block of work that is a tangible element of project scope.
Mhm.
It should not be, kind of a hearsay or something. We'll do something like that. No, no, no. Let's be exact what you want to do. Every
Mhm.
activity must be very clear, a lot of clarity in the statement,
Mhm.
clearly saying what to do, right? And whatever is being done in that activity must be able to be measured discreetly, as if we can say that this work is this much complete and this much is not complete. It should be measurable and discrete element or block of work that is tangible. Tangible element of the project scope means which fulfills the scope somehow, the overall scope of the project. This tangible element is contributing to the fulfillment of the scope of the project. You agree with me? Second important thing is a single person is responsible for the performance of the activity. Now, it is not always a project manager responsible for everything. Every activity must be assigned a
Mhm.
person, a single person who
Mhm.
will lead that team which will do it, right?
Mhm.
You understand? The
Yes, sir.
There must be
Yeah.
a owner for every activity.
Mhm.
Usually in our project, the person who is supervising the team is normally considered to be that. that person responsible for that activity. But it is not one activity. If he is constructing the wall, and in the construction of wall there are 10 different activities happening, he may be responsible for all of them. So the supervisor is generally the person who is responsible for the performance of those activities. This does not preclude the idea that multiple resources may be required to accomplish the activity, meaning the people who are doing the activity are not the responsible ones. Supervisor is the responsible one, and these people are doing it. This is that they are the members of the team. So under a supervisor, if we have, say, 10 people working and he is getting the work done from those 10 people are just the members of the team. And this guy, supervisor, is leading the team. He is responsible for those activities which are being done by these workers. Okay. That person should be the same one who will report progress on the activity. That is again a point. The supervisor is the one who, our team lead is the one who is going to send out the reports, progress reports upstairs whenever required. It is not that any random person out of the team sending out his own reports. We don't want that to happen. We want that a proper discipline to be exercised. So you see, it is not always the responsibility of project manager to to do each and every activity all by himself or to report it all by himself. Basically, he has assigned team leads the responsibilities of supervision and teams under the team lead who will actually perform those activities. Activities describe the work that needs to be accomplished. As such, the description for each activity start with a verb and contain a unique specific object. Now, it is beautiful because when I ask someone, what is your activity name? They give me a complete sentence. Construction of a concrete wall over the stones and I don't know, blah, blah, blah. It should be, every activity should be a short and crisp verb object statement. Minimum 2 words. At least, at most, you can expand it to 3 words or 4 words, but not like a full sentence. And it should be, the first word should be the verb, what to do. And second word would be the object. Like if you have to do the pouring of the wall, pour is the verb and wall is the subject or object. So it should be a short statement, but at the same time, you can add something to it, like the deadline you can add to it or something like that. Pour wall within 3 days, something like that. But the minimum format should be like this and not a complete sentence. Maybe descriptive of a task, the activity description needs to be more specific. Now, as far as the description is concerned, adjectives may be helpful to clarify ambiguity. Now, when you're using only 2 words, there might be a little bit of ambiguity. So, you to clarify that, you can say, pour the east wall foundation from point X to point Y. Or it could say, review chapter 3 on terminology. Be very specific what to do, right? So that 2 word format has been slightly enhanced to bring in the clarity and the objective. This is how an activity should be framed. Each activity description should be unique and leave no room for confusion. You can't say, like, I'm using pour wall. There are 20 walls in this construction. Every wall can't be called as a pour wall, right? They must have distinct name. For example, pour east wall, pour west wall, and things like that. So must distinguish each activity from others. right? By that name,
Yes.
there must not be two activities in the whole project. Okay. It can be identified without ambiguity and it should be independent of the scheduled presentation, grouping, or organization. Now, scheduled presentation is the report you are submitting. Reports, the terminology used in the report might be brief and short, but here we will have maybe a different terminology because this is something when we are doing the things. When you're reporting it, you could refer it by a number, right? You may not
Mhm.
like to write the whole sentence, but reporting purposes may be slightly different. You could rename those activities according to the convenience of the stakeholders who may have to read it. The work represented by an activity once started, now this is again a very important point. An activity has started, then it should be capable of proceeding to the completion without interruption. When you start something, you only stop when it is finished, except for the naturally occurring non work periods in the calendar. For example, there is a tea break time. So, after the tea break time, we will continue from where we have left. Or this activity is 10 days long, so we are not going to continuously be working for 10 days. We will work for 8 hours today and then we'll leave. And next day we'll come and start right from where we have left. But there should not be discontinuity otherwise, right?
Okay.
So when you set out to do something, you complete it and report, and that's it. There is no, you can't say that I'm going to another activity. We are busy on some other activity, and so let's stop this activity here. And when we come back, we will do this job. No, in good project management practices,
Mhm.
the task you take up, you finish it before taking up another task. If the work of an activity is suspended or delayed, it is possible, although it is not advisable, it is
Mhm.
possible due to certain reasons. This activity which we started has been suspended or delayed. It is often beneficial for the activity to be split into two or more activities at
Mhm.
natural break points. For example, there is a shortage of resources. This was a 10 days activities. We have
Mhm.
already done 5 days and the remaining work cannot be continued. What should we do? It says break this 10-day activity into two separate activities, one which you have completed and one which will be done later sometime.
Mhm.
So the same activity must be broken down and given separate identity of activity number. For example, this was activity A, that will become activity B.
Mhm.
So if it was main activity name was activity number one, first part will become 1A, other will become 1B. You will declare 1A complete and move on to your next job until 1B is cleared, unsuspended. And then it has been inducted into the schedule. You will have to do it later. But you can't leave a work unreported, unfinished, and move on to another task. As I said, we will break it at the breaking point and split it into two. You got that?
Yes, sir. Mhm.
So we have done this one. Moving on, design the
Mhm.
project activities. Typically, an activity duration should be less than two times the update cycle. Now, these are new things. You have never listened to them. We have never discussed them already. That's why I am reading it specifically. What is our update cycle? We need to understand that. And it says your activity duration should be less than two times of the update cycle. What is the update cycle? For example, in your project, the progress report is supposed to be submitted every week. Means your update cycle is 1 week. Agreed?
Mhm.
Okay. There should be no activity, classically speaking, there should be no activity which should be greater than the update cycle. That is a key. You
Mhm.
break down your activities to that level that at the end of an update, you should be able to give some progress. If all activities are bigger than the update cycle, are bigger than 1 week, then what are you going to report at the end of first update cycle? Nothing. Therefore, try to, if it is decided that your progress reporting would be on weekly basis, then your activities should be at least less than half of that duration. That is the maximum size for an activity defined, means 2 to 3 days. Every activity should be 2 to 3 days. That way, you might be doing a number of activities during that time, and you would be able to submit some progress at the update point. We have done these three activities simultaneously, and then, because they are done, now we can move on to the next, right? It doesn't mean that an activity cannot be longer than update cycle. Certainly, there are certain activities in the project which cannot finish within an update cycle. So, what to do about them? Uh, Anyways, the current mechanism which I gave you, this allows the reporting of the start and finish of an activity within 1 or 2 update cycles. Meaning, either everything should be reported in 1 week or at most in 2 weeks. Mean there could be a 7 days activity or 8 days activity, but then it would be reported in the next update cycle. So this is comfortable. Maximum our effort is to have activities of the size that can easily be reported after every progress cycle. But if there is a longer activity which exceeds one update cycle, we can afford it, but our priority would be that it should finish in at most 2 update cycles. Meaning, none of the activities should be more than 2 weeks long. Generally, activity size should be half of the update cycle or less. And if at all some activities are longer, try to not have an activity more than 2 update cycles. These are very good instructions uh, for the breakup of the activities that are, sizing the activities. This will help or allow the management to focus on performance and corrective action if needed. Management will have a better control over it. They would know what is being reported now and how to correct the situation if there is something wrong. Having said that, I have set the rule of 1 week and 2 weeks. You understand that? The basic rule is less than half of the update cycle, and the max rule is maximum 2 update cycle long. Now, exceptions to this general rule are those continuous activities. For example, you are constructing a house, and many activities are there. They are just kind of within the update cycle or whatever. But there is an activity of supervision of that wall, and that wall is going to take 6 weeks. So for 6 weeks, the job of supervision will continue. This is such like activities are called continuous activities. So remember, there is always an exception to the rule that there are certain activities which are continued over a longer period of time, and sometimes there are some activities which are continued throughout the project. For example, if you are running a project, the activity of managing the project manager's job is a continuous job. You got me?
Mhm.
The project manager's job, I'm not talking about the activities. The
Mhm.
project manager's job is a continuous job. Or for example, if there is security required on the project during the life of the project, they will be providing security throughout the life of the project. That is also a continuous activity, right? But our main activities of the project, which where the work is involved, there we have that rule, and otherwise we do understand there will be some continuous activities which would be for much longer durations. Uh, Summary activities such as boring a 2 mile long tunnel or paving several miles of highway. This is a big activity. It may take 6 months. But then you have to break it down into smaller sections, right? So these kind of activities which are more, um, uh, where you have to really measure, these are called summary activities, which are kind of uh, defining a longer period. Like maybe it is a target of a phase to complete. But this activity crosses phases. Then we have got procurement activities where a single work item like fabrication or shipping a component to a remote site can take significantly longer than 2 update cycles. You have booked an item to be shipped and it takes 6 months to get to you. So you actually booked it 6 months earlier and it is received 6 months later. So this is also an exception. Can take significantly longer than 2 update cycle, or a level of effort activity such as administrative support. Level of effort is that is a continuous activity like I described, like administrative support is happening throughout the project. It is called LOE activity, level of effort, because the progress of such an activity can be measured in a very different way. That could be if it is a continuous activity throughout the project and it is 1/3 of the project is complete, then the level of effort is considered 1/10 of the progress will be 1/3 of that activity. 1/3 of administrative support has been provided, right? So we can report this progress like that, but according to the level of effort. In these cases, the activity duration should simply reflect the anticipated time for the activity. For these LOA activities, we anticipated time that because this much time has passed, so this much effort has been served. This is not the exact effort. Care needs to be given to LOE activities because if they are given static duration equal to the length of the entire project, they may end up on or driving the critical path. Now, this is interesting because the longest path in the project is critical path. Agreed?
Yes, sir.
And LOE effort is also throughout the project. So they will equal to the critical path, right?
Yeah.
So care needs to be given. Don't be confused with the LOE activity, that this is also critical because if they are given static duration uh, equal to the entire project, they become critical. By their very nature of supporting detailed work activities, LOEs cannot drive the project duration. Because you see, uh, project duration is driven by the activities on the critical path. LOE activity is not having any duration of its own. It is just assumed that as long as the project goes, LOE goes. So LOE is not supposed to be driving the critical path, although they may be equal to the critical path, but we don't assume that they are driving the critical path. Do you understand that point?
Yes, sir. Mhm.
It is a good practice to define LOE activities in such a way that they will take their duration from the detailed activities that they support, right?
Mhm.
So rather than attaching it to the whole project, we should attach it to ongoing activities.
Mhm.
We say the level of effort for this 1 week's job which has been done, let us calculate the load according to that for the LOA activity, rather than comparing it with the whole critical path. When completed, the activity list will describe 100% of work required to complete the project. Although not all activities necessarily need to be fully detailed, enrolling wave planning is being used. You see, activity list is just gives you an activity and the 100% task it is supposed to do.
Mhm.
Now, there is a question: can an activity be progress of an activity be reported in the middle of the activity?
Uh, sorry, could you say that again, please?
I'm saying just consider one activity, single activity.
Yeah, yeah.
If somebody asks you in the middle of that activity, what is your progress? Can you report the progress?
Yes, you should be able to, at any point in time, tell how much work has been done, and yeah, I mean, progress should be
Okay,
able to
I'm
be
talking about only one activity,
one
not,
activity.
not the project.
One activity. Yes.
The 5 day activity, 2 day has passed, and somebody
Yeah.
asks you, what is your progress?
Yes.
Okay.
Normally.
Okay. I'll refer you back to the very first sentence where we
Okay.
decided that the activity size should be less than the reporting cycle. Why? Because we don't want to report an activity separately in the
I
middle of
see.
an activity.
I see.
We want if at all we have to do that, we have to kind of report separately the portion in 1 week and the other portion next week.
Mm,
Even before the activity has happened, we will
mm,
break the activity in two parts, right? So
mm,
generally speaking, the rule is it is just like, I have to pay you $100.
mhm,
You have given me a loan. So
mhm.
my loan will be over when I pay it. You understand my point?
Yeah.
You can't say that, okay, there are 5 days left to
Mhm,
pay the loan, so I'm 80% progress is there.
mhm.
You see, activity is a unit which cannot be
Yes.
reported separately, which cannot
Yes.
be broken down. It can only be reported when it is accomplished.
Mm,
You can't say some work has been done. That is very uncertain kind of a statement.
mhm,
Yes, some work will have to be done, but have
mhm,
you delivered? So let us consider every activity with its delivery point.
mhm,
Delivery point marks its achievement. That is called 100% achievement. So
mhm,
the activity will describe 100% of work required to complete the project, meaning all the activities, but a single activity will
mhm,
also be considered uh, complete when it is 100% complete. Got that?
mhm,
We will not say that this activity is 50% complete or 25% complete. We will try to keep the unity of an activity.
mhm,
That's why we said the generally the activities should be less than 2 times the update cycle, as if
mhm,
we don't have to report
mhm,
an
mhm,
activity which is small.
mhm,
But naturally, we also allowed in the second sentence that we could have an activity larger than one reporting cycle, maybe
mhm,
two reporting cycles. So, how would we report that? Now, it is not how much you have done. We will split the activity if it is in completing in two update cycle. We will say 50% is first reporting cycle,
mhm,
50% is next reporting cycle. So
mhm,
even if the job is not complete, one update cycle has come, first report, we will say 50% complete without even measuring the physical progress,
mhm.
right? Why?
Yes.
Why should we do that? Generally, we will go by the rule that activity would be declared complete until it is fully complete. 100%. It's called 0-100 rule. 0-100 rule is during the life of that activity, the progress being sent is 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. The moment it accomplishes its goal, the progress is suddenly becomes 100%. This is a 0-100 rule. But for those activities which cross one update cycle, we can split them into two parts of 50% each. No matter if it is really two updates long or a little shorter, but if it crosses one update cycle, we will break it into two parts. First week part would be the 50% progress, which will be by default given at the end of first week. But the second part will only be given when the activity is complete. Say that this activity even does not get completed in the second week, it gets delayed. So by the end of the second week, what would be the progress? Only the previous 50%. When the activity will end, whether it ends in the third week or fourth week or 10th week, 100% will only be given at that point in time. Till that point, it will go on with 50% progress. You understand that point?
So,
Sometimes you have another rule. This rule is called 50-50 rule. Normally, when you are dealing with a subcontractor wants on the assignment of the subcontract, they want certain mobilization advance, right? But how can we pay something when that thing is not being done? Because activity is considered complete when it is done. This guy is asking, say, 50% advance. So what we do is we make that rule that as a longer activity starts, it will be considered 50% complete right from the moment it starts because we have paid for it. We will consider it 50% complete. It is not about the progress, it is about what we have spent. So 50% complete, and the day it will be completed, no matter when, then it will be declared 100% when he will be paid the remaining 50% amount. Now, this rule can be amended for maybe 3 reporting cycles. You could say it 33% per month, per week or something. Or if it is 4 weeks, you could say 25%. So that rule will become 25, 25, 25, 25. In case of a 3 week, but these are exceptions. This is not usually happening. My first priority would be 0-100%. That is the safest. If an activity is exceeding one reporting cycle, I will apply 50. I can apply 50-50 rule. If it is exceeding 2 reporting cycles, I can apply 33-33 rule. And if it is exceeding 3 reporting cycles, I can apply 25 rule. Got that?
yes,
It
sir.
might be a little tricky. You might not have heard about it, but this is a very solid way of taking the progress. Naturally, there's a wrong conception that physically measure the work which has been done and according to that give the progress. That is absolutely wrong. Actually, sum up all the activities that have been done, right? That have been declared done. Sum up those activities, and that is your progress. Don't go inside the activity and try to calculate how much has been done because that is yet not done. That is yet not done. The activity is still pending. So we will not count it. Got that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sequencing. Now we have quite deliberately gone through the whole process, the relationships, what kind of relationship will be there, predecessor, successor. This slide doesn't talk much anything in addition to that, except for if we have to apply critical chain method. And I have provided you a separate lesson on critical chain also.
Mm.
But critical chain method is not mandatory. It is not used everywhere. Only if you really feel like using it and you have a need for uh, going to that level of accuracy, then you can
Mm.
use it. It is basically you decide beforehand what method are you going to use. Is it a critical chain method? Is it a critical path method? Or whatever, because your whole
Mm.
methodology is affected by the method you use. So I don't think we need to read a whole of this slide because we
Mm.
already know it very well.
Mm.
These are the various relationships we have already understood.
Mhm.
Okay. Uh, we have talked about the lags and leads.
Mm.
This is the discussion about the lags and leads. Again, I think we are done with it. We quite
Mhm.
well know it. If you want to have a look at it, lags and leads could be placed anywhere, even within any relationship. It could be SS plus 15 or minus 15, FS plus 10 or minus 10, whatever.
Mm.
Any conventional relationship could have a lag or a lead. Yeah, some instructions are good here. Some schedules may be tempted to use lags to represent a period of time when work is actually occurring. That is
Mm.
wrong. That is wrong.
Mm.
Such as review of document before the next phase proceeds, it is recommended that these types of work be shown as activity because review of the document is a separate activity. Why are you
Mhm.
considering it as a lag? You understand my point?
Yes, sir.
Let's give it a name. It is an activity.
Mhm.
When such activities are included, they could be coded to show that these are activities for which another party is responsible, meaning
Mhm.
approval has to be given on something.
Mhm.
Your team is not going to give the approval. So let us put it as an activity, give it a activity code, but assign
Mhm.
it to the authority who has to give the approval. It is
Mhm.
their job. So put it in the chart that this is their job. Because if the project suffers from due to the delay in approval, we would know that this is not our fault. This is the fault
Mhm.
of the person who did not give the approval in time. So he would also know that I am on critical path. I shouldn't delay it any further. And moreover, I would say there should be penalties for such like activities. If they delay it, normally when you are having a contract, it usually
Mhm.
says that we will deliver on, say, on this date. Within 3 days of the submission, we should be given the approval. So actually, 3 days are reserved for the approval. If 3 days has passed and the approval has not been received, it would automatically legally be considered as approved and we will proceed ahead. You understand my point?
Yes, sir.
So if the approving authority is not giving the approval, then they should speak up within those 3 days and stop the work.
Mhm.
If they don't speak anything out, then it will be considered approved legally. Let us make it a part of your contract when you are doing such kind of activity, as if the people who are giving the approval do not relax and do not delay your project unnecessarily.
Mhm.
It is also possible to assign constraints to activities and milestones that require
Mhm.
the activity or milestone to start or finish at specific point in time.
Mhm.
As far as the constraints are concerned for the activity, we already know that, but milestones can also have constraints. Now, this is interesting, meaning like the external constraints we have said that external parties could have a constraint, they could
Mhm.
say that this milestone must be achieved on this specific fixed date. That is an external constraint to the milestone. And if it is to the milestone, naturally it is going to impact the activities also. So there might be such constraints to the activities as well as to the milestone that require the activity or milestone to start or finish at specific points in time. Study the various types of constraints that might be used and understand the effect and nuance their use has upon the schedule prior to use. Don't jump into uncharted waters. You must have complete understanding of what you are getting into. Generally accepted practice is that constraints and lags should not be used to replace the addition of activities and relationships, as I just said. If a lag is for, for doing something, that doing something must be given a name. Rather than putting it as a lag, we should put it as an activity and maybe assign it to the relevant party. However, as an example, utilization of constraints is generally acknowledged as necessary to meet contractual obligations. So there will be constraints, of course, but don't make these kind of things as your constraints. In general, each activity should have, yes, this is very important. Each activity should have an F to S or S to S predecessor. Meaning, from when an activity ends, any activity could be a predecessor of a F2S activity, FS activity relationship, or a SS relationship. And similarly, any successor activity could have a F2S or F2F relationship. You understand? Anyway, this is just kind of an explanation of what we already understand. Don't get confused from that. Without these types of logical relationships, the activities are called dangling. If an activity is not linked to anything, it is hanging in between. That is called a dangling activity. And there is uncertainty in their duration. We don't know, will not necessarily be transmitted. It is not part of the schedule because it is not connected to the schedule, right? So that should not exist. All activities should be connected by some kind of relationship. And it is always a closed loop. Schedule is, network diagram is always a closed loop. Then we talk about determining the resources for each activity. How much resources are required for each activity? Naturally, this is something specific to whatever kind of job you're doing. Is the process of determining the type and quantities of materials, personnel, equipment, and infrastructure required to perform each activity. Each activity, not the whole project. Each activity. For every activity, I must know how many people, how much equipment, what all should be available to do this activity. And make sure all of those materials, person, equipment, infrastructure, etc., they are available just in time to start that activity. Right? Because activity is a unit. You can't say after start of the activity, we will deliver you this thing. If you deliver me 2 days later, how can I start? Got it? So activity is not a very big thing. It is 3 or 4 days thing. So all the resources required for that activity must be provided before the activity starts. I'm not talking about the whole project. I'm just talking about an activity. And the sum of the resources would be sum of all the activity resources will actually be your sum of the activity resources, but uh, you have to cater for the resource leveling and all those things. Meaning, one resource should not be should not have been shown as being used at the same time at two places. It is not possible, right? So naturally, it is not a simple addition. It is on the network diagram, on the Gantt chart. as I calculated the human resources A, B, C, D. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Just like that, that is the way to calculate the resources and also the duration. But as far as cost is concerned, cost could be a simple addition of everything. Got that?
Yes.
Okay. If a project is constrained in terms of resources and duration, should be impacted, resources should be incorporated in the schedule model. Although sometimes performed together, estimate activity resource process should be completed prior to activity duration process. Although it says that people do both of these things in parallel, but it would be wise if you would have calculated, estimated the resources first, and then you calculate the duration, it would be much wiser.
Mm.
And then you can put it all into the network diagram and your schedule can be created. This is just an example. The hours needed for a senior designer to accomplish the activity versus a junior designer to perform the same activity could be considerably different. So you see, an experienced person, a class 1 carpenter and a class 3 carpenter, their performance is not going to be same. So you have to specify what grade of carpentry do you require, right? A junior level person may have slower pace and lesser progress.
Mm-hmm.
So that must be considered while you are estimating the resources. On some projects, especially those of smaller scope, defining activities, sequencing activities, estimating resources, all of these things we have talked about, they are not considered separate activities. Why? Because they are the same people who are doing everything.
Mm-hmm.
So generally, this is all called scheduling. People don't
Mm-hmm.
differentiate these activities, these
Mm-hmm.
processes separately, right? I don't mind it because they are very tightly linked and they happen together, one after the other are together in parallel, but they are not the single process. People view it as the single process. They are not the single process. There are dynamics of each process. Duration estimate has different rules. Resource estimation has different rules. Sequences has different rules. So maybe a single person is doing it, I don't mind. Our single team is doing it, I don't mind. But they must have all those skills which are required for doing each process, right? And in
Mm-hmm.
complicated project, I would rather like to have a specialist in resource estimation, a specialist in cost estimation, and things like that. So as if they can utilize their skill appropriately at a proper time, and they are integrated. But for small projects, we don't have so many people. This is one person doing all the scheduling, and we think scheduling is just one process. But as I have shown you, scheduling is set of many smaller processes. If a single person is doing it, he should have knowledge of all of those processes, as if he can do justice to everything properly. Got that?
Yes, sir.
Resources can definitely impact the critical path, as we know it already. They should be considered by the project team just like that. Okay, let us have a break for, say, I have to say my prayers. Can you
Okay.
give me half an hour?
No problem, sir.
Wonderful,
Okay.
wonderful.
Thank you.
So we have a break for 30 minutes and we'll see you back
Mm-hmm.
again.
Okay. Mhm.
Okay, now we move on to identifying various scheduling components, which I mentioned earlier also. And based on that, we will devise a mechanism of assessment, right?
Okay.
So what are the scheduling components and how are they categorized? Uh, the component, there are more than 100 different components. They
Mm.
are classified like, in these 8 categories. I
Mm.
mean, every component has a name
Mhm.
It either should be a required component or a conditional component or
Mhm.
optional. It could be filled, data could be filled manually or it should be calculated.
Mhm.
For each component, there is a data format. There is a behavior of every component.
Mhm.
There are certain good practices about every component.
Mhm.
There are certain conditional notes or associations with other components which could be mentioned against that component. And then we have a definition of every component. Now, I can't show you all of the 100 plus components,
Mhm.
but I can show you some examples how they are framed. I'll also show you a complete list of all components by category and
Mhm.
a detailed component list also. So let us first talk about the scheduling components. If you remember when I've shown you earlier the list of all the components, you remember we had the O standing for optional, R for
Mhm.
required, and then
Yeah,
we had
yeah,
got some
yeah, yeah.
conditionally required items like resource required components, uh,
Mhm.
earned value required components, and risk required components. So RRC, ERC, and KRC. This is just
Mhm.
a game of all of those. Each one of those components we had seen in that list, we have a detail about them,
Mhm.
about all of them. Okay.
Okay.
How to use this component list? This section defines the type of information that can be shown for each component. Then we have the list of components by category and then by a detailed list.
Mhm.
So first of all, how to use them? These are the various things which we could show as a card for each component. On top, as a heading, we could have three things mentioned on top. On the extreme left corner, the name of the component. In the
Mhm.
middle, we could have whether it is a required component, a conditional component, or an optional component. And
Mhm.
on the right hand extreme, we would show it whether it is a manually entered component or it is calculation of something. Then we will mention the data format for the component like this, behavior like this, good
Mhm.
practices like this, conditional note and associated component like this, and definition here.
Mhm.
This will be the format. So component name is a data element contains the name of the component within the scheduling tool. What do we call it in scheduling? Which may differ within a selected tool. Maybe the software you are using, they might not be calling it a component name. They could call it
Mhm.
something else. But other attributes should be the same as that. Familiarity with the standard will allow for proper usage. Now, what is this choice? Required, conditional, or optional? The data element indicates whether the use of a component is required, it is mandatory for a schedule model. It is conditionally required. What is conditionally required? Meaning it could be if you are exercising risk related components, then it is KRC is a risk required component. That is a conditional. ERC is a conditional. RRC is a conditional.
Mhm.
Or if it is required, it is R. Or is it optional is O. Based on the state and action of another component or a process.
Mhm.
Or it may be optional. Then how this component is perceived? Do you calculate it or do you put it down manually? If you have to enter the data, it is manual. If it is a say it is the result of the summation of two other components, then it would be called
Mhm.
calculated.
Mhm.
Data format, how data is formatted within the component as part of the scheduling tool. The data format may vary between scheduling tools. Behavior, this is important. In the component list, this data element describes how the component reacts or and enables reaction within the scheduling tool. So what is its behavior? What does it do? It is important to note that all of the behavior descriptions start with a verb indicating the action. Just like we said, we will have activities defined, verb and then action. So what is the behavior of this component? Actual behavior of a component may vary between scheduling tools and settings within the same tool. Good practices is a very good item. That means how this component should be. In this list, good practices mean there is a general agreement that correct application of skills, tools, and techniques when applied in conjunction with the named component can enhance the chances of success over a wide range of different projects. Good practice does not mean that the knowledge described should always be applied uniformly on all the projects. The project management team is responsible to determining what is appropriate for any given project. So this is the suggested use of that practice. This is a good practice, right?
Mhm.
But it has been found that this works most of the time, but you have to decide whether you want to use it this way or some other way. A conditional note, that is the linkage, dependency. Component's action is dependent on the state or action of another component. Then you mention that other component from which you are getting the reaction.
Mhm.
And naturally, definition is the definition of that component. And this could be found also in the glossary of terms at the end of the standard of scheduling. List of components by category. As I have already described to you, R stands for required component, O stands for
Mhm.
optional components, RRC for resource required components, ERC for earned value management required components, and KRC for risk required components. There is another notation called NS, that is for not scored. These are certain components which are there, but they don't have any score, meaning they are kind of not really optional, but if they are there, you don't get an extra mark for them, right? They are not scored. All of the required components shall be present to achieve a score on the maturity assessment process, except for the not scored items, right? Not scored items may or may not, they don't add to your score.
Mhm.
Now, this is the complete list. Well, you have already seen the list. This is a little hazy. You can't read it very clearly. But what
Mhm.
they have done is it is different from the list which I have shown you earlier, because here they have divided, categorized them. All calendar related components are here, constraint related components are here, and so
Mhm.
on. So, like calendar related components are the project calendar, which is R required, activity calendar is optional, resource calendar is required if only you are doing resource related components. If you are doing resource management properly, then RRC becomes a required component. Otherwise, it is optional. So you have to intentionally decide before starting your project whether you will be doing resource management, risk management, and earned value management, because these three things are optional. You may or may not use them, but if you use them, then they become required. They become R, right?
Mhm.
Anyways, constraints as late as possible. Well, that date can be provided, but it doesn't have any score, no scoring. As soon as possible, no scoring. Expected finish date, no scoring. Finish not earlier than, no scoring. Finish not later than is optional. Finish on, not no scoring, so on.
Mhm.
So the only we have got certain optional items like finish not later than is optional. Then
Mhm.
project finish constraint is optional. Project start constraint is optional, because you may or may not have it. Okay, rest everything is not scored. It
Mhm.
doesn't count much. Then in duration you can have like everything is required. Everything is required. Activity actual duration is required, original duration is required, remaining duration is required, total duration is required. Similarly, for project, actual duration is required, project remaining duration is required, project total duration. All of these are required items in any case, whether you are doing risk management or not, whether you're doing earned value management or not, whatever. But these are definitely required items for every project, all kinds of projects. Earned value, we have got a lot many items here. Some are optional, but others are earned value related components. Earned value related component, if you are exercising earned value management in your project management, then these ERC items will become required for you. Like, actual activity, actual cost is a ERC item. BAC, budget at completion, is a earned value ERC item. Uh, Control account ID is a required item. Earned value is required. Uh, Estimate at completion is required, ERC. ETC, ERC, and planned value is ERC. Rest everything is optional. You see, if you complete optional items, the optional items are not useless. Optional items are good because you get a point for optional items. You don't get a point for not scored items. Not scored items are useless. Optional items give you an extra point. Required items are required to pass the schedule test, right? If any single item, required item, is not achieved, your schedule fails. Any single required item you do not achieve, your schedule is failed just because of one item. Optional items, if you score all the required items, optional items will give you extra marks. That will determine how good is your schedule. Anyways, this is how to interpret it. So let us look at it. Yeah, again, it is very hazy, so you can't really read it. This is a list from another point of view. This is divided according to the process components. Like, schedule model management related items are these. Defined milestone and defined activity items are these. Sequence activities are these. Estimate activity resources, these items. This is a different kind of categorizing, but the things are same. And here also, in schedule model management, control account management is optional. Earned value method, whether you use it or not, is optional. Project calendar is required anyways. Cost category is optional. Project description is optional. Project manager name is optional. If you provide them all, you will get an extra mark for optional items. But required items are mandatory. Like resource library and dictionary is a resource required item. If you are not exercising resource management on your project, then it will appear as an optional item. If you are exercising it, this is a required item. Then we have got resource rates and prices is anyways optional. Schedule ID, unit of measure, they are both required, and custom field is optional. And you see, this is how all of these are distributed. You can read through them, and even you can count how many are the total number of required items, total number of optional items, total number of RRCs, ERCs, KRCs, and non-score items are not mentioned here. They were mentioned here in this chart. But non-score items are not mentioned here. So this is more of a scoring chart. You score according to this, because non-scored items are those which do not matter. Even if you have them, you don't get an extra point for them, right? So they are not mentioned here. So let us see how many are optional items. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32,
Mhm.
33, 34, 35, 36, and 37 and 38. I don't know if my counting is right, but it looks like they're 38. Maybe I'm wrong.
Mhm.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Mhm.
Similarly, you could have counted each one of them, and that would
Mhm.
be helpful for you.
Mhm.
So these are the items.
Um,
Okay, this is a format for one item, filled item, right? And how many items were there? I don't know. Again, we have to count 3, 4,
um,
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
I think I have the book somewhere. I'll check the book. Let me see. Mm.
51 on this side, approximately the 100 and some items are there.
Yeah.
And in the book, in the standard for scheduling, you will
Mhm.
have this kind of um, format filled for every one of them, all
Correct.
all of them.
Mm.
I won't be able to show all of them to you, but at
Mhm.
least I'm showing you a sample. For
Correct.
example, activity actual cost, which we call AC. This is a required item, but of ERC nature. ERC is they will be required only if you are exercising earned value management.
Mhm.
This is a calculated field.
Mhm.
This is number. Behavior is it measures the cost.
Mhm.
Good practice about it is include actual cost when using earned value methodology in the schedule. That is a good practice. That only when you are using earned value, this actual cost must be included. Without
Mhm.
that, you cannot. What is the conditional note or associated component? It says, see the earned value management standard. Why? This term is also known as actual cost of work performed. There's another name for this, AC. There is another
Mhm.
name for that is ACWP,
Mhm.
actual cost of work performed. This standard recognizes AC may only be available at summarized levels of activities and not for each discrete activity in the schedule model. Mean the cost of all the activities, the, the actual cost of all the activities will be the actual cost of the whole project.
Mhm.
And at any point in the life of project, whatever activities should have been completed to that point, sum of all those will be the actual cost of that point. So we will start with zero actual cost till the total budget is our final actual cost. I mean, not the budget. Actual cost is how much we really spend on that activity. This is not a planned. That is the other thing is
Mhm.
called planned value. That is
Mhm.
which we plan beforehand. Actual cost is
Mhm.
how much cost actually incurs on each activity
Mhm.
at the end of it, at the end of the day. How much money have we spent on each
Mhm.
activity? So we keep adding that up. So you say we are 1 week past the start of the project. So far we have spent this much money. How many activities you have done? We have done 10 activities. So we have spent this much money in
Mhm.
for these 10 activities. This is my actual cost for until this point. And we keep adding it up until the end of the project. And the actual cost, whatever comes, the sum of all the activities which have been spent on them, that would be my actual cost at the end of the project. Got that?
Yes, sir.
How do we define it? The total cost of the work completed during a given time period, this value can be calculated at any schedule model outline level and between various data dates. If the calculation is performed using the project start date and the most current data date, the value are called cumulative, meaning from the start of the project till today, whatever has been spent, total amount, cumulative amount, that is called the actual cost at that point. So you can calculate it at any point. At the last day of the project, what is the AC? That would be sum of all the activities which have been performed, their actual cost. Another example is activity actual duration. This is a required item. Anyways, this is not a conditionally required item. This is definitely a required item. And if this is missing, your schedule is equal to 0. You fail your schedule. It can be calculated, it can be manual. It is a numeric figure. Behavior is to define the length of the time that has elapsed since the activity began. Activity actual duration. So far, an activity, how much time has passed until the start of this activity? Actual start of the activity, not the scheduled or planned start. It may have to start on 2nd of January, but it started on 3rd of January. Today is 10th of January. So 10 minus 3, actual start date. 10 minus 3, 7 is our actual activity duration so far. Maybe this activity is still incomplete, but this much time has passed. Right? So there are no good practices mentioned, there are no conditions mentioned. Definition is a total number of work periods in calendar units between the activity actual start date of the scheduled activity and either the data date of the scheduled model if it is incomplete, if the scheduled activity is in progress, or actual finish date if the activity has been completed. For example, today is 15th of January, and this activity started on 3rd and completed on 13th, then its finish date would be counted, not today. Right? So that means its duration is, its activity actual duration is 3 to 13, 10 days. Maybe it did finish not on 13th, on 14th, then it will be 11 days. But when are we reporting? We are reporting on 15th of January, but we are not counting after this activity was completed. Got that?
Yes, sir.
Similarly, activity actual finish date. This is the date on which that activity had finished, the date itself. So the format is date, it is a required item, it is a manually input. Behavior is defines the date that activity was completed. Good practices, all activities with finishes prior to the data date. I mean, today is 15th, 15th is the data date. So all those activities which have finished before that date are having this date available. So this date can only be provided if those activities which have finished. So all activities with finishes prior to the data date should have actual finish date assigned. Actual dates replace the CPM early and late dates, meaning anything which is done is done. We don't need to know anymore that how early it could have been done or how late it could have been done. It has been done, and therefore we just need the finish date is the date. You understand my point?
Yes, sir.
The earliest this activity could have finished and latest this activity could have finished does not matter anymore because this has finished, and on whatever date this has finished, that is my actual finish date for that activity. This could be useful in calculating the percent complete. And the definition is a point in time at which a scheduled activity is completed, I mean done. Similarly, we have activity actual start date. That is, today is 15th of January, and there are certain number of activities which have started so far.
Mhm.
Only those activities which have started before 15th of January, they will be provided the exact date on which they actually started on ground. So it defines the progress having been initiated on an activity. Good practices, actual dates need to be assigned to all actual starts prior to the data date. Data date is progress date. Today I am noting whatever has started before this date, whichever activities have started, they must have assigned an actual start date. Actual dates replace again because actual has happened. So early start, latest finish do not matter here. Earliest and late dates are no more valid, just like in the previous case. Condition, that is progress need to have been initiated prior to the current date, meaning all those activities which started, which will start later cannot be counted. So from today earlier, if those activities have started, only they can be counted. Definition, the point in time at which the scheduled activity began. Then we have got another example of activity calendar. This is a date, a time format. It defines the working period for the activity, like means for the activity, what were the working days or hours available in which that activity could have been done. The activity calendar overrides the project calendar because uh, activity calendar is specific to doing the activity. Although when we were planning this activity on the calendar, we may have catered for the project calendar, but there must be some specific needs of the activity. For example, if there is a chemical test going on and we have taken the sample in duty hours, it might have been processed for next 24 hours, right? So it doesn't go by the rules of the project calendar. So for this, we have to actually take how much calendar time has been allocated to this activity, whether that is according to the project calendar or not. But generally, we do take care that it must be aligned somehow with the project calendar. No good practices, no conditions. Definition, a calendar of working and non-working periods assigned to the scheduled activity, which defines the work periods and non-work periods in calendar format. The activity calendar on the scheduled activities to which it is assigned is used to replace the project calendar for calculations during schedule calculation. So there is a difference between project calendar and resource calendar. This specifically is the activity calendar. So there is a project calendar, there is a resource calendar, and there is an activity calendar. This activity calendar is optional. This is not a required. Yes, if you use that, you get one extra point for that. Activity code, if you allocated a code to the activity, you get an extra point for that. You manually enter that. It could be an alphanumeric number, indicates the classification of the task or activity. Good practices activity code should be used to facilitate sorting, organizing, summarizing, and grouping. If you don't have that, you will have difficulty in sorting, organizing, summarizing, and grouping the activities. No condition, definition, one or more numerical or text values, like I said, C1.01001, something like that. So this is the alphanumeric number that identifies characteristics of the work or in some way categorizes the schedule activity that allows filtering and ordering of activities within reports. This is kind of a indexing system in a database. By this number, we can sort our activities. Activity cost category. This is again alphanumeric number, provides additional breakdown from the cost point of view that can be assigned for a specific cost account within the project. For example, you have the construction you are doing is in 5 portions, and those 5 portions each are governed under a separate cost control account, right? So all the elements done under one cost control account may have a number associated with that cost control. For example, the cost control CCA 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So CCA, all the items in CCA 1 will will be numbered like that. This is another indexing system just for the purpose of resource sorting. Right? This is another sorting mechanism for the cost purposes. It provides additional breakdown that can be assigned for a specific cost account within the project. Good practices for accounting purposes. Costs should be broken down into categories such as direct cost, indirect cost, labor cost, material cost, equipment cost. Right? No conditions, definition, a breakdown of the cost such as labor cost, equipment cost, and the material cost. This is how it could be broken down. Then we have activity cost estimate, numeric figure, optional, manual, derived by adding all individual activity cost categories, may include costs in addition to those included in the planned value. Anyways, what I'm trying to show you here, that you are now able to interpret these charts. There are 107 different tables available in the standard. I suggest that you download the standard, the scheduling, practice standard for scheduling, and go through this, and you will find it interesting. Not from the examination point of view. Yes,
Yep.
from the examination point of view, it can help you build some understanding of the things. But otherwise, in practical life, when you are actually performing schedules, you could actually grade yourself. How good is your schedule? Which I'll just show you in a moment after this chapter. That would be a very interesting mechanism by which you can tell whether your schedule is worth it or not. If you miss a single required item, your schedule will fail. So you will pay more attention to the required items, and also you must pay attention to the optional items because they give you more than passing marks, optional marks. So I'll just skip these few demonstrations here given. They are not all of them. Are you fine with the concept?
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay, now I'm going to give you uh, good practices. Now,
Okay.
how are we going to categorize? Conformance index we have to calculate. That will tell us whether our schedule is good enough or not. Conformance overview is categories of the components, utilization of schedule components, and conformance assessment, and ultimately the process of conformance. The method I'll show you first. Okay. We already understand that there are required items. We also call them core required components, CRC, which were shown as R. They are called CRC also. Core required components, CRC, is equal to R required. Then we have got, you see, in addition to the core components, we have other components like RRC, ERC, and KRC. Got it? They are currently not required, but if you practice resource management, all RRC items become required. If you practice earned value management, all ERC items become required. And if you practice risk management, all KRC items become required. Why they are not already required? Because on all projects, people usually do not exercise all these three things. These three things may or may not be done. If they are done, they are considered required. For example, you are doing, in addition to the core required items, you are doing resource management on your project. So all the items of CRC, which are the required items, plus all the items of risk-related components, they must be added. They must be added. This will be then your pass score. CRC plus RRC will become your pass score. Conversely, if you are practicing all three things, then you have to add them to CRC, and this will be your pass score. Okay, let me show you. Yeah, these are the total numbers. I counted the required items wrongly. There are 36 required items. No, I was counting optional. There were 39 I counted. They're actually 40. Optional items are 40. Required items are 36. RRC related items are 11. ERC items are 9. And KRC items are 7. Total number is 103. But they did not mention the NS items, not scored items. If you count them, let me see, non-scored items. You see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There are 12 non-score items. So 107 plus 12, that will be 119. But because these 12 items do not matter in the score, so we don't mention them in the score. So here you understand, this is the table you are concerned about to measure your schedule performance. Got it? Just keep that in mind. Okay. So this is the example. There are certain questions you have to ask before starting the assessment of the schedule. Number one, are you doing resource loading in your project? If you're not doing resource loading in your project, then RRC is not required. Is there a requirement to utilize earned value management? If the answer is no, then you don't, EVM is also optional for you. And if you say yes, then EVM has to be added to CRC. Third question is there a requirement to utilize schedule-based risk management? If the answer is yes, all the KRC items become mandatory. Otherwise not. So these are the three questions you must ask yourself before you start the assessment. And based on that, you select which formula will apply to you. If only RRC, then CRC plus RRC. If only earned value, then CRC plus ERC. If only risk, then CRC plus KRC. If RRC and ERC, then CRC plus RRC plus ERC. And if all of them, then naturally all of them are added. If you understand that, it will be much easier. Let us move on to this table. Okay, yeah. For example, this sample conformance assessment scoring table can be used. You can mark, there's a complete list of all the components. This is a long list. So you can have this filled and see, number one, do you have a WBS ID? What kind of a component is this? This is the ERC component, and this is required because we are exercising ERC, if at all it is required. So it is in this category. This is the RRC item, resource calendar. Rest all of these are CRC item. So you just keep filling which items are are there in your schedule. And then wherever you have placed these R's and O's, at the end of the day, you add them up.
Mm.
In this specific example, they have mentioned all the items here. So your total should be this. 36 CRC, 11 RRC, 9 ERC, 7 KRC, and 40 optional, total 103. Now, for your project, you let me use, for example, you are filling it, and you say, we are not doing RRC and KRC, but we are doing what? We are doing this and this. That means these items will become optional. Okay, for example, WBS ID is existing. So you say, let me put a different symbol here. You say, yes, we are doing that. Activity ID, yes, we are doing that. Yes, we are doing that. And so on. So this optional item, we are doing that. This we are doing. This we are doing, but we were not exercising resource management. We do have a resource calendar in our schedule, but we were not doing resource management. But this will then count. This will then count towards optional. And because it is a tick here, it will count towards required. I hope you understand that point.
Yes, sir.
That way, you will fill the whole chart and then add your stars under each column. So, say, for example, your score is, when you add them all up, your score is, you completed all 36 out of them. You completed 3 out of them, all 9 out of them, and 0 out of these, and 35 out of these. Now, the basic thing was you had put your ticks on here and here, right? And your crosses on here and here. That means all the score on the tick columns will have to be added. Like you will have to add this and this, and you will have to add this and this and this. Got it? Because they will be counting optional. So your total required score would be 36 plus 9, right? It is going to be 43. Okay. And your optional score will be 35 plus 9. No, sorry. 35 plus 0 plus 3. So it will be 38. Now, this is your score. But what actually should be your score? Let me change the color. Let me be this. What should be your score? Actually, you opted for this and this. 36 plus 9 is 43. So your pass score is 43. You got 43 out of 43. So your schedule is pass. What extra marks you got? They were 38. So 43 plus 38 That is 43 plus 38 is your total score, 81, isn't it? 81 out of 103. So number one point is the required score you must achieve. 43 out of 43. Even if a single item is missing out of the required, then you fail. If you get all the 43 points, you are pass. But all additional points will raise your value. So you could achieve 81. If you compare it with another schedule or another project and its score is 85, they will be the winners. You will be falling behind. So there is a continuous improvement associated with it. You could keep improving your scheduling by using this method. Now, this was just a raw calculation I have done, but I will now do it through some exercises. Okay, this is the proper format on which things are reported. In your format, you can print it out. Actually, there are 2 pages to it, 3 pages. You can print it out as a form. You can print one form like this and one form like these next 3 pages. This page, and this page. You can print it out and make it one long form. Let us see how do you fill. It gives you the table on top, standard table, that there are total of 36 ERC, 11 RRC, 9 ERC, 7 KRC, 40 of total 103. Now you answer these questions. So what you are marking here is that we will be, for example, we are saying, is there a requirement for resource loading? Say yes and no. Sorry. No. Is there a requirement for risk? No. Is there a requirement for EVM? Yes. This is how you will mark it, right? And then that means you will calculate that this value and this value are required, and then you would know that this value, and this value are optional. Got it? Now add the greens for required and add the reds for optional. You got that? So
Yes, sir.
our required is 36 plus 9 is equal to 43. And our optional, sorry, I should have done it in. This should have been green. And my red items would be 11 plus 7 plus 40, right? This should be the maximum score of the optional items. So they are 60, isn't it? Let me do it. 11 plus 7 plus 40. That is equal to, no, 58. This is 58. Is it correct?
Yes, yes, it is, sir.
So I have got a total are
50.
43 plus 58 is equal to 103. Is it? Is it true?
Mm, I
Right.
think so. Mm,
I'm just showing it to you. You don't have to do all these calculations here, but actually, you must understand the concept here.
mm,
So I'll just delete this and move to the next slide. Now, this is actually your scoring table. In this, it says that you have, okay, what was the case? Yeah, it is just an example. It says potentially you could have these many required items. If everything is there, then 36 plus 11 plus 9 plus 7. In your case, you said only earned value is required. That means what? That means your required item is this 9 will be shifted here in the required list. This will be 0 because this is not required. This is 0. Just because you said I will be exercising earned value required items. So 36 plus 9 is definitely 43. Got it?
mm,
Okay, this you don't fill right now. And for the optional items, again, optional items could be all of these things. But
mhm,
because 9 has been already picked out there, so we will have 11 optional here. This will be 0 because it has already been picked up earlier, and 7 here. So this will total up to 58. So this is your score table. This is your score table. Now you do the test, you check each and every component, and your minimum pass marks are 43. How many do you get in the core out of core 36? If you accomplish all 36, you write 36 here. If you, because this was not required, so it will be counting 0. The required is this. Out of 9, for example, you get only 8. Here you get 0, and here you get 42. Just by 1 mark, your schedule has failed. Just by 1 mark, your
mm.
schedule has failed. You don't even need to count the optional marks. You can go back to the drawing board and fix that problem before starting another assessment. So, what is required is you have to get full marks here. And that is 9 out of 9. Got that?
So,
So if that be the case, what happens is this can be corrected as 43. So if you get 43 marks here, you're pass. Got it? Now,
mm,
out of the 40 optional items, whatever score you have, because it doesn't matter if you score 0 or you score a big number. So if you are good, your score could be like 35 here, maybe like 11 here, maybe this is going to be anyway 0 because that has been counted up upstairs. And this score would be something like, say, 5, right? Now add this score and it is 40, 51. This is 51. Now write this achieved score in the core items here, which is 43, and your optional items is here, which is 51, and add them up, that comes out to be 94. And that means you received 94 out of 103. What? You are pass and your score is 94. Now, what you learn out of it is that I could have further improved my score from 94 to 103, even if you are good enough, but you can even try further to further enhance your score to 103. But still, this is a pass score. But when you are compared against others, if somebody achieves more than this score, they will be the winners. But again, the parameters should be the same. They should also be considering ERC as required. So you can compare only with those in which ERC is only required, right? This could be one way. Do you get it completely?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I am going to remove it. And let us move on. Yes. So you got that 93 was a score. So 93 divided by 103 multiplied by 100 will give you a raw score, right? I'll show you. For example, this is an example. Here, the answers to 3 questions is there a requirement for resource loading? It says yes. EVM, no. Risk management, no. So what do you think? It would look something like this. 36, 11 resource required. These 2 are not required. So these 2 will be written here and this will be shown as 0. And actually score you have got here is you achieved all these 36, you achieved all these 11, you achieved all 47, 47 out of 47, 47 out of 47. As far as the optional are concerned, you just secured 5 marks here and 5 marks here. So total 10 out of 56. This is 10 out of 56. Let us say 47 plus 10, that is your score, 57 out of 103. 57 divided by 103 is 0.55. If you can multiply it by 100, it becomes 55%. That is the conformance index you have achieved, 55. Anyone who has got a better conformance index than you would be the winner. It is a competition. But the bare minimum, the good practice is, the bare minimum is to pass. As far as excellence is concerned, you could have achieved the excellence to any level. The maximum is the highest score, 103. Okay, let's take into view this example. Here we have got all the conditionally required items are required. That means this is required, this is required, this is required, and this is anyways required. So all of them will be added. Let us see how. If all of them are added, they add up to 63. And because there is no optional item except 40, so this will be 40. 63 plus 40 is 103. Out of the 63, you secure all 63. Out of the 40, you secure only 9. So 63 plus 9 is your ultimate score, which is 72 out of 103 is 0.7, which is 70% is your conformance index. You see, that will differ from one case to the other. It is depending on the conditional items. You can't judge yourself against someone else, but anyways, you can if you like, because they will definitely have less pass marks and they will definitely have less marks than you. No, your pass score is like 63 is your pass score. Their pass score was like 40. or something like that. So you are more mature and you are already getting more marks. But the point is, if in the optional item they secure a lot more marks and they exceed your 70, they still will be the winner. You understand my point? So they have to fulfill more optional points, but you have to fulfill less optional points, but you are at the level of excellence. You have to move from 63 to 103. 40 items are optional, and you try to secure as many as you can. They have more number of optional items. Anyways, I am sure you can compare yourself with any other schedule, whether they are resource required or not, or whatever, whichever requirements are there. But this is a standard method. In this example, we have got resource yes, risk yes, but EVM no. So in this case, this is an example. You see, resource yes, risk yes, and EVM no. So EVM is shown as 0 here, and all the EVM points have moved here. And there are no points for resource and risk in optional category. So this comes out to be, I think this calculation written here is wrong. It should be, it should be 49. 36, 47, 50. This is okay. 30 plus 9, this is 39. So they have committed a mistake here. This score is 39. So let us cross out. Let us cross out this and this. This is now the correct. So you have secured all the points which were required, 54. But from the optional components, out of 40, you got 30 marks. You achieved all the earned value requirements, all the 9. That means you are good enough in earned value. So next time, you could opt. Next time, you could opt even this as yes, because you are already fulfilling all the requirements of earned value management. But anyways, for the time being, they will count towards your optional marks. So in optional, you got 39 and your total score is 93. Though your pass marks were 54, but you got a good score, you got to 93, which is out of 103 is approximately 90%. So you are moving towards excellence. Got that?
Yes, sir.
One last example. Here again we have got earned value is not required. So what is happening here? If the calculation is correct, yeah. Here what is happening here? You could not secure the pass marks here. See, you got only 47 points out of 54. That means you need not have done the lower calculation because you have already failed. You have already failed your schedule. So you have to reattempt it. Maybe after revising your schedule, you can again come to do this assessment. It is not necessary that you are yourself doing this assessment. There might be an auditor, a scheduling auditor in your organization whom you inform that you are ready for assessment. They come and they do your assessment and they tell you that whether you pass or fail. And if you are passed, then what is your score? So in this case, you've got 47. Now you can't add 47 plus 34 because you are already failed. But if you just want to give them a raw score, you can tell them, okay, you are 47 plus 34 is 81. Your score could be 81, but basically you are failed because you did not complete all the required items. Where is the mistake? Mistake is the people who filled up the previous thing, they 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 mentioned, sorry, yeah, they mentioned resource is required. If you do not consider resource as required, your estimation would be changed. For example, if resource, I just put this symbol at is here and just ignore that. That means I will pass because what has happened now? That means this 11 is not required here. So this all will go. This is not required here. And rather, it will be replaced by an 11 here. That means the items you scored 7 would come here. And your pass score would be what? 36 plus 7?
40.
43.
Mhm.
So your pass score will be 43 and you would have received how many? You are failing in core items. You can't fix that. You are failed. You are anyways failed. Even if you would have done the RRC
Mhm.
as optional, still you fail because you are failing in the core items. You got that?
So,
Anyways, this is just an exercise into this, and we probably do understand how these things are working. Anyways, this was an example of a failing case, right?
mm,
So in this case, this chart will not be, the last total score will not be computed. But before the total score, it will be stamped here failed, and you will have to go back to the drawing board. And this chart will be completely blank because you don't get any score. You get 0.
mm.
I hope you understand how to do this.
Yes, sir.
That's all. We come to the end of the course.
Okay.
This is the end, and yeah, that's it. So, anything you want to talk about? Any questions?
Mm. You
Any
should be
ref?
okay. I'm gonna maybe go over the standards again, and
Yes.
then yeah, that'll be more. Yeah. Other than that, it's all
Actually,
great.
what I have discussed with you is more than what the exam will be asking you to do.
Oh, okay.
You
Thank
are
you, sir.
equipped with more knowledge than the exam, and definitely, if you understand all of this, you have you know you have developed a common understanding of all what we have studied. There is nothing
Mhm.
which could fail you.
Okay.
This is just an
Mhm.
additional knowledge, even for
Mhm.
your own practice
Mhm.
in your projects. You could start utilizing this method. There are not many things which I have discussed with you, which are generally more than what is required to be known. Like
Mhm.
especially the things from the scheduling standard, like I told you the concept of LOE
Mm.
and a lot many other things like how much should be an activity size. This normally people don't know. What is the update cycle? Your activity size should be less than that, and zero to the 0-100 rule and 50-50 rule and 30-30-33-33 rule. For all those things are additional knowledge. I suppose you can go through the material on your own time, and
Yes,
if
sir.
you still have any problem, do leave me a mail,
Okay.
and we can schedule another session whenever you feel like.
Okay.
I am available for the first 10 days of January. I have no other
Okay.
commitment, so anytime is all right with me.
Understood. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for your time and all the explanations.
Most
Okay.
welcome, most welcome.
Okay.
I really enjoyed the session with you because I think you are quite intelligent person and you understand
Thank
everything.
you. Thank you, sir.
So probably you will pass very easily, no problem at
Oh,
all. And
thank you.
do let me know when you pass the exam. It will
Yes,
be a
sir.
celebration point for me as well.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
and take care. Bye bye.
See you soon.
Most welcome.
Bye-bye.